Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here for another episode of Walnut Wednesday. And this week is a very wonderful, exciting week because we have a repeat guest on the podcast. We've got Rachel White back. Yay!
Hello.
Hello, Rachel. Welcome. How are you today?
I am so well today. Thank you so much for having me back.
Yay. I'm just really pleased because I feel like, there's a lot of evolution that's gone on, and I'm so here and ready to discuss this. But so the last time we had you on was episode 28, and now we're like closer to the 100 episodes, so it's been a little while, and you were still in the glow, the gentle glowy kind of brand, so you've changed like a lot since then. But Walnut, for those of you who didn't listen to the episode, one, please go back and listen to it because it was really good. But Rachel is a creator, a guide, an author, a speaker. You're just an expensive, delicious, light-filled banana. So do you just want to, can you, without using the words of putting you in boxes, how would you kind of introduce yourself to a new Walnut who hasn't met you before?
Yeah, so I express myself in all the ways you just said, through being an author, a guide, speaker, and I feel like at the core of all of that is my creative expression. Like, I feel like I create for myself first and foremost, but I know that everything I put into the world is for the liberation of women and for all people, but especially women, to feel their own creative potential, to express in a way that only furthers their evolution of their liberation, that integrates lightness and ease into their life and pleasure and their intuitive genius and their deep connection with their body. So my work is really to be that guide towards people feeling better. And it sounds really simple, but there is, like, it's so simple, but there's also depth and complexities around it as well. And yeah, that's what I do. Like, I really just follow my creative urges, and sometimes I feel like it doesn't fit in together well, but then I'm like, no, it's actually a masterpiece. Like, I have the magazine, I have books. Like, I've been loving writing poetry lately, so I have one poetry book, probably another one soon. I haven't written it yet, but I feel like it's in me. Then I have my kids' books. They're just basically poems, and yeah, so many other things that I create. And yeah, it's all just with that intention for me to be connected with my creative energy, because I know that creates beautiful ripples out into the world.
Yeah, I love it. I find you one of the most inspiring people of all my like online friends that I have, because ever since I met you, I feel like, I don't know, we always got on so well, but like when I'm around you, a magic will always happen. And I don't know if it's just your manifest a human design thing or if it's like what you give out, but the way that you express, it like puts a fire up my butthole, and I like get excited about doing stuff. And yeah. I love how like I'm obviously the number one fan of Spirited Leaders magazine. Actually, Walnut, I'll put a link in the show notes because I just love it so much, because it's an idea that I never would have even thought to bring to birth into existence the way that you have. And I did a masterclass with you about birthing your creations. I'd love if you could maybe give us a little rundown on what you mean by giving birth to things, because you've given birth to like so much.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely talk about that. And I feel like, so like to just start with our creative energy, so we all have creative energy. We all have so much creative potential, and it really derives from our creative impulse that we're born with. As soon as we start breathing on earth, we have a creative impulse and this desire to procreate, to co-create, whether that's human life, whether that's our ideas, whether that's beautiful relationships, food, whatever, like literally anything. We have the impulse that makes us want to create things. And if we're really tuned in and tapped into that creative impulse, we create in a way that's really beautiful, really magical, and in a way that fulfills us. And that's like when I talk about birthing beautiful things into the world, like that's when we're connected to our pure creative energy. But even if we're not connected to that, we're still creating. It's just in a more perverted way that perpetuates our suffering, or things we think we don't want, but we're actually creating that reality. But like, side note to that, so when it comes to birthing things into the world, we have the energetic center of our sacral chakra, which is in our womb space for women, but in like the lower abdominal for men. And this center is our center for creation. It's the center that connects us to our human experience. So it's the center that holds our life force energy, sexual energy, creative energy, all the same thing. And when we allow ourselves to be, permeated and penetrated by life, and we allow like the seeds and the ideas that come from all around us to basically mix in with our creative potential, and then we can hold that energy inside us to create, and then we can birth things into the world. And it's such a beautiful process. And that's the energy, like our sexual energy is what creates new human life. Our sexual energy is also what creates things like our business, our programs, our books, our the meals that we create, the way we set up our home, like literally every single thing, like the environment of our relationships and all of those things. And like there's so many different ways we can tap into that creative energy to really turn that up, to then attract ideas so that we can birth things more efficiently. And part of that is like almost surrendering to the process. And it's interesting what you said before, Lara, about how you feel like on fire, like in my presence. And I feel like this has always been a real gift of mine, that like I'm just naturally very efficient at taking things from thought to form. Like I'll have an idea about something and I'll literally bring it into physical existence so quickly. An example of this is the other night, like literally last week, I was thinking about so I've already published 4 kids books, and I have another few in my mind that I just need to do the imagery for. But I was thinking there's like a family member's birthday coming up, and I was like, it'd be so cool to have a published book about them. I want it to be surprised. I don't think they're going to listen to this conversation, but I don't want to give the details in case they do. But so I wrote the writing for the kids book in like 10 minutes. And then I hand painted all the pictures, did all the writing, all the layout, like basically everything from the start of the idea to finish a whole new kids book in less than 24 hours. And I was like, when I'm like in my creative zone, like I bring things to life so quickly. And that isn't the behavior that was modeled around me when I was growing up. Like so many people, like it would really feel frustrating to me when I saw people taking days, weeks, years, or like having all these ideas but never doing anything about them and never bringing them to life, when it just felt so natural and easy to me. So I feel like that's like one of my gifts, to bring things to life really easily and effortlessly when I want to, but to also like invoke that energy in other people. And I've always felt like that when people actually want to create, when they're in my presence, like they do it effortlessly. When they're resisting it, they end up like hating me, like I'm triggering the fuck out of them. But when they're just not open to it, because I just don't tolerate people saying things like, I don't have time for that, or I'm not capable of that. It's like, whatever, like I have 1,000 ideas already of how you can make it work, but if you don't want to, fine, whatever. And I was actually reading, like in my gene keys, I forgot what number key it was, but there was like a sentence in there saying that like one of my innate gifts encoded in my DNA is to like invoke and accelerate the creative energy of other people. And I was like, I've always known that, but it's nice to see it in writing, like in something like that. So yeah, so birthing things into the world, let me know if I didn't fully answer your question, but like we have such a beautiful capacity of our creative energy to like, we're always bringing things into existence, and when we do that intentionally, we can bring like so much magic into the world. And I always believe we should create for ourselves first and foremost, but it ends up having such a beautiful rippled out impact as well.
Oh, I you can tell that I'm like full in crone because I've just been like having tears this whole time. I just think that you're so amazing and wonderful, and I love how, because if we go back to, okay, there are a couple of things I want to talk about, but if we go back to like actually just writing a book, I am definitely going to work with you when the time comes, and you know this. And actually, Walnut, I don't think I've told you specifically that this is what I plan to do at some point this year, but there is a book in my butt that's ready to come out. But I've since changed ship again of how I feel about it and stuff like that. And I think, Rachel, what you do so well is like, let's write another one. Just, oh, that you got that idea, well, it's cool, we'll just do another book.
I was literally about to say that. It's like you are going to be constantly evolving, so express as you are right now and let it be done, let it be completed, and then make a new thing.
Like, yeah, exactly. And so this is something that I actually did want to talk to you about, purely like because of the last time we spoke, you'd changed brand, and then you brought more, you'd stepped more into the leadership, and now you're stepping further into like pleasure and stuff like that. I'd love to hear like your point of view on you know, growing, changing, evolving, and not putting pressure to just stick with the one thing. Like, how did it feel to shed that kind of the skin from your gentle glow? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like, first and foremost, you are a person. Like, you're a person, and your creative expression is always going to come from who you are as a person, and who you are as a person is constantly evolving. The moment you stop evolving is the moment you die, the moment your life force is depleted. Like, your life force is always urging you to evolve to some degree, and that doesn't mean that we need to be growing into a whole new person every single day. Like, it just means that we have an impulse that wants us to explore more depth within ourselves. So I think like when it comes to expressing ourselves, you can say, I say creatively expressing, but if you have any like connotations around that you're not creative, like, let's just put that word aside for now. Expressing yourself is like, let yourself be who you are right now and express from that point. Like, you don't need to pretend you're more successful than you are, and you don't need to downplay yourself and pretend you know nothing when you actually have so much knowledge and wisdom. Like, be who you are right now, express from that point, and do things that feel good for you. And for me, like, when I first really went all into my business, I was at a point where I had left like my professional career as an accountant, and I was mostly focused on like yoga teaching and like the gentle glow, gentle coaching, all of that stuff around really helping people restore their nervous system, because that's really what I was transitioning through. And it was like, I was teaching people what was necessary for me to learn in order to move through something that could have been a really stressful period in my life, but I did so with a degree of ease because of what I knew then. And I wrote my first book, Gentle Glow, and I love that book, and it feels so special to me. But right now in my life, it feels like I've evolved past that, and I feel like it definitely still has a strong, beautiful message for the people that need it and for the people that are attracted to it, but it's like a full-grown adult creative baby where I don't need to, like, it's on my shelf, like literally right there. But it's like having the family picture of your kid. Oh my god, amazing. But it's like it has its own life. It's out there doing its thing, like has like it has an impact that I could never be aware of. And anyway, so then there was that, and then I kind of like got to this point where I was like, okay, I feel like I've kind of like outgrown this. And it was like, oh, and I had my podcast, the Gentle podcast at the time as well.
Yeah.
And it was like, it wasn't that long. I feel like it was definitely under a year that I was kind of doing that. I can't remember exactly, but I kind of got to this point where I was like, I feel like I've really like outgrown this. I feel like it's not feeling good anymore. What will feel good? And I didn't just like immediately change like the second this doesn't feel good. Like it's not about like rebranding every single time you have a little moment of like maybe this could be better.
Yeah.
But I really like sat with that and kind of really intentionally created like spirited leaders and really leaned into that, like going into more like leadership, spiritual leadership mindset and all of that kind of stuff. And then it kind of like had this natural evolution into my journey of like pleasure and embodiment. And it was what I'm doing now. I feel like everything I've already done, it's not completely different. It's just a natural evolution. It's just exploring a different facet. And while like being gentle with yourself, restoring your nervous system, self-leadership, spirituality, all that stuff is still intertwined in what I'm doing, like I feel like the forefront focus is just enjoying your fucking life. And it's like,
Yeah.
but I had to come to that evolution for myself before I could teach on that, before I could guide people on that. So I think that like this is where it really comes down to like letting go of the pressure that there's a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do. There's no right or wrong thing to do. It's about enjoying your life first and foremost, being yourself first and foremost, and expressing yourself from that point. And you know, when we take the pressure off what we're creating needs to be anything or do anything or result in anything, then we can actually create in a way that feels fulfilling in and of itself, and you know, will likely have external rewards as well. But when we're trying to mold ourselves into someone that we're not in order to make money or to get attention or to get praise or to get anything external from ourselves, like it's always going to feel a little heavy, a little icky, a little crunchy, and you may as well just do something that feels good. And there's always ways to make money. There's always ways to you know, satisfy your survival needs and you know your those root chakra needs. And you know, sometimes that doesn't look like exactly the way you planned, maybe in the short term or whatever, but like just love your life to start with. So yeah, that's kind of been like my evolution, that just following what feels good. And I have, oh my god, so I have even like a new evolution, and this isn't like a complete rebrand. This is just like an amazing expansion. I don't want to share because I have this plan where I'm just gonna like drop it and be like, look at this, and then there's so much more coming that I feel like is going to blow a lot of people's minds, especially when I share the story of how it came to life. But there's some things coming that are really amazing and that wouldn't have been able to flow through me if I was in my own way of trying to make things that didn't feel good work. You know, and I just want to add one more thing, that throughout like my period of time, like I know that it's really easy. Like I've always been someone, when people look at me from the external world and they see me like doing all these things, like even when I was working professionally, even when I was studying and all of that, like I was always doing a lot of different things. I was always getting recognition in some way because I was doing things that like externally looked impressive to a degree. And a lot of people like always think that I've always had it all together, like I've always just been so motivated and driven and whatever. And I have to say that like my energy definitely like doesn't work like that. Like if people actually saw, like I have so much rest time and I have so much downtime and I have so much lazy time, and I definitely have moments where like I doubt myself for a moment. I feel like I have a strong undercurrent of confidence that I know whatever I do it'll all be good, but there's definitely moments of doubt and stuff. But I've also had like extended periods of time, like in the transition between leaving my accounting job and so like I left my accounting job and then I was doing like yoga teaching and stuff. And there was like a few months where like I would go and teach my yoga classes and I would show up in the world and do the things I needed to. But outside of that, like 10 hours a week, I was on the couch watching Netflix, binge eating food. Like I like went into this like deep dark night of the soul where like I just did not want to deal with anything. And it was because I had spent, you know, like 8 years having my soul drained. It was like, so, you know, I've gone through periods like that. And I actually just went through like, so I've just moved, you know, from Mildura, like where I grew up, where all my family is. I just moved to like the coast of New South Wales in Australia. And I kind of like I was still working, I was still showing up, I was still doing the things I needed to, meeting with the people I needed to. But I kind of like the first month that I was here, which is only like a month ago now, I kind of like had this moment where I was like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of doing anything? Like, maybe I'm just happy doing nothing. Maybe I'm happy just like making these kids books for fun and then just putting them out and like not giving a fuck what happens, and just like, so I had like this little, it was kind of like, I saw it as like I was going into the cocoon, and it was like literally like everything I thought about myself and everything I thought about what I wanted was being broken down into like, so when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, their body literally becomes like this oozing soup, and then the cells that have the coding for the like the butterfly wings and the body of the butterfly are what's left, and then they eat that soup and grow into the butterfly. And I actually felt like energetically I was going through this process where I was just like, you know, really stripping back everything that was not part of who I wanted to be going forward. And you know, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was hard, but it was not 100% pleasant at every moment.
You were the sloppy soup.
Yeah. So like I go through periods like that, like externally looking in, like I know a lot of people wouldn't think that, but just know that like no one has it all together. So just start with where you are and let yourself grow from there. And I think like the most successful people in the world know the power in making a decision and rolling with it. And that's where our power is. Like momentum attracts momentum. Make a decision. Nothing is right or wrong. Just make a choice and roll with it and make another choice and adjust as you go. And it's all good. And I know that was a really long answer. So
no, it was actually a really refreshing answer, Rachel, because I resonate a lot with it too, because I feel like things just kind of, they don't just happen to me, but things fall in front of my nose, but that's because I act on small things to fall into the next place. So like I do actually have this strange, like you mentioned before, underlying confidence. You said that you had this confidence in yourself. For me, I probably am peanutting a little bit, wouldn't describe it as confidence. It's more this trust that everything's going to end up all right. Yeah. And so yeah, I like how you've described that, because I resonate with that a lot, and I think the walnuts that are listening will resonate with that a lot as well. Walnut, also, if you want to hear all about how Rachel started her business and stuff like that, that's all in episode 21. Rachel's all over the walnut tree, actually. Inside the group, we've got like the Spirited Leaders launch. There's a couple of other things as well. Oh, your poetry book launch. Like,
yeah.
You've definitely popped in a few times. So if you, just have a look inside the walnut tree on Facebook. But before I ask you my final little question, where can people find you if they want? Well, I've just listed a whole lot of places, but what are you up to? Where are the places that you like to hang out online, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so best place is on Instagram at by Rachel White. Pretty much everything goes through my Instagram. I post a lot about like the background of my life in my stories. But yeah, everything's there. And then the link to my website is in my Instagram bio, so you can find it there as well.
Awesome. Do you have anything that you feel like there's a walnut listening that they need to hear right now? One little snippet of wisdom that's burning out your butt that needs to be shared?
I feel like
I'm gonna start to cry again. Look at me. Oh my god.
I feel like an important message I would like love to wrap up with is that like you deserve to be yourself. Like, you deserve to express yourself as you are, and as the person you want to be expressed as right now. And like, you, like, the safety is there. You can self-source safety, even if, and okay, little tangent, like, the evidence you seek is always the evidence you'll find. So if you want to feel safe being yourself and expressing as yourself, choose that as your truth and find the evidence of that. And that's how you really, I think, like, identity work is really important. So if anyone's feeling like they want to create, they want to, you know, create this really beautiful thing, and everything you create is beautiful, know that you can absolutely do that, and you can feel safe showing it and being seen in it. You can create for yourself, but there's so much beauty in sharing and showing your creation as well. And you can feel really safe in that, and just know that, like, feel safe within yourself, and that will be reflected back to you. And don't take anything anyone ever says personally. Like, there are people out there that think the cutest baby in the world's are ugly, and like, you wouldn't agree with them. So don't take anyone's opinion like on what you create personally, because it's all just a projection of their inner world. So go out, create magic, be in awe of life, like, get turned on by life, and just allow your evolution of who you are and exploring the depth of who you are just feel like a natural, fun journey.
I love that. I love that so much. I love you so much, Rachel. You are such like the definition of a walnut. You just go and you do the things, and I love listening to you. I love being around you. I love that you're my friend. But token question, it might have changed since the last time, or it might just be a new evolved version of it. But what does being a walnut mean to you?
Yeah, I can't even remember what I said last time. I'll have to
There's something about like you said it's just a quote from the episode that I remember specifically, but you said like get obsessed with yourself. Which I love.
I stand by that. Be fucking obsessed with yourself. But like, what does being a walnut mean? Like, you know, how you describe it being brave, but I feel like also like just normalizing being yourself, like let it feel normal, like let it feel like it's just your natural state to do things. And you know, maybe there are times where you have to like muster up some bravery and rally through something, but allow it just to feel natural. And that comes by taking the pressure off things. Like, there's no, like, your success is being yourself, and there's no need, like you don't need bravery for things that are just normal. Like, you don't need bravery to get up and go get a glass of water and drink it. Like, let being yourself feel as normal as that. But yeah, get obsessed with yourself as well, because you're fucking amazing.
Yes, I love it. And you don't need bravery to write your 5th book.
You don't. It's an exciting experience. Maybe you do need bravery, and that's okay, but by the time you finish it, it will be your new normal, and then you don't need bravery to write your 2nd book, because it'll just feel like a normal, easy thing.
I love it. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm crying again. You're so delicious. Thank you so much, Rachel. That was a beautiful continuation of being obsessed with yourself and what you said last time. So Walnut, if you enjoyed this episode, share and tag Rachel and I, so at Walnut Wednesday, at by Rachel White. Let us know what you liked. Let us know if you want to hear more stuff. If you want to follow Rachel, I'll put all the links inside the show notes. But thank you for your time and for being here, Walnut. And Rachel, I think I've like licked your butt so much today, but I'm so happy we're friends. Thank you for being on the podcast again, and for showcasing that you can just keep rolling with things and taking that, you know, foot off the gas and just relaxing into life and creating the things that you want to create, and just feeling your way through things. Because we live in a time where pressure is on all the time. We're so overstimulated that we forget that we can just take our pants off and watch Netflix if we want to. And if we do that, you know, things might fall into our brain like a book, you know. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and for everyone listening. Yeah, I love you too, Lara. So thank you so much. I loved everything that came through this conversation.
We could actually, side note before we just go. So the last time that we spoke, like this is going back to like the evolution as well. I said to Rachel before we started recording, I had set questions and I was very new into interviewing people and things like that. And for my little walnut like evolution, I've just gone in and we've just kind of had this magical chat without any pressure of questions or feeling like I have to ask something. So it's just a showcase of the beautiful seamlessness that is creativity. I guess.
Amazing. And it's like you've set your like a different standard of normal. Like it's just normal for you to do podcast interviews. Like it's just natural.
Yeah, I love it. So anyway, we're just like breathing the examples that we're saying, which I love. So anyway, I digress. Thank you, Rachel. I love you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.